welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Kiana and I do a lot of sewing and fashion videos. And today we are going to be making the Olivia Rodrigo Good For You outfit. So iconic. This has been so highly requested and I'm all for it because I'm obsessed with Olivia and I loved her outfit, and she's half Filipino and I am half Filipino. Also, another big factor for recreating her look is the fact that I made these a couple of weeks ago. These are my Gigi Hadid gloves, leather gloves I made from her Met Gala look when I recreated that. So yeah, I already have this, so I don't need to make that, but don't worry if you don't know how to make these, I'll probably go over it again. And I'll also link that other video somewhere down below and on the top of the screen. But I got this glove pattern as a free pattern that I found on the internet, so I will also link that down below. So the exact look we're going to be recreating is from the end of her Good For You music video, where she's like screaming in front of the burning building, and she's in like the white corset and the blue plaid skirt. I think it's a skirt. It looks like a skirt, but it has like a little flap in the front. So we're gonna do that. I'm so excited. So let's go to Joann Fabrics for a little shopping spree. Okay, I'm back. Went to Joann's. Also, thank you to Joann because they sent me a gift card a few weeks ago and I used it to fund my costume material expenses for this look. So for the blue plaid, I found this fabric, which obviously, like, it's hard to find the exact same plaid fabric. It's hard to find exact replicas, but I thought this was pretty darn good. The other one, it has a little bit more of this darker blue in it, but I thought that it worked pretty well. Also, it's like a very thin fabric. This is rayon, and that looks like to be about the same weight as her skirt. So happy with this. Also though, I already had this fabric that I'm gonna use for the top. This is like a double knit, I think. I'm not exactly sure. I got this from fabric.com. I'll link everything down below that I'm showing you right now, but I'm gonna use this for the outside of the corset. And then from Joann's, I got this knit fabric as well for the inside of the corset. I also bought 3 of these Featherlight boning. Also got some interfacing. I got a 12 to 14 inch invisible zipper for the skirt. And then I just bought some more white thread. All right, so what should we start with first? The top or the skirt? I think we start with the hardest thing first. Let's start with the top and then we'll whip out the skirt. Let's go. To make the top, I just grabbed a bodice block and used the slash and spread method to move the dart around. I made it honestly unnecessarily complicated, but that's why I'm giving you this free pattern anyways, so that you don't have to go through this whole ordeal. I'm also just using stretch fabric, so it doesn't really need to fit super well. Okay, it is the next morning and I think I have the patterns here. So you already saw me kind of doing the top. Here's my top pattern. I am using stretchy fabric, so it should be pretty easy. I am also gonna give you guys this pattern for free. At first I wasn't, because I was like, ooh, they don't want this pattern. It's just a quickly drafted crappy pattern. But then I realized, I mean, something is better than nothing. So I'm gonna give you guys this pattern for free. It's linked down below. Download it, use it yourself. The only thing is I'm just like giving you this like unmarked pattern. It has no seam allowance on it. It's made exactly to fit me, or it will be by the end of this video. So you'll have to like grade it to your sizing. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and make a prototype out of some scrap fabric for this top. Another thing is I am raising the waistline of everything. As you can see here for this top, it is not very long. Like Olivia's is long and her skirt is more low-waisted. I am super not into wearing things that hit right at the squishy point of my stomach. So I'm making everything more high-waisted. I'm raising the waistline of the top, I'm raising the waistline of the skirt, because low-waisted is not for me. No, no. No, 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 no. And I also think the general consensus for most people is that we like high-waisted things better, so hopefully this works for you. All right, let me prototype and I'll be right back. Yo, this is my second prototype. And I just kind of got a pretty cute freaking shirt out of this prototype. I cut the front panel in 2 and made a seam down the center because I didn't have enough fabric to do the prototype, but look at this. This is freaking cute. If you don't want to make the corset, make this top. It's cute. The only thing is, so like it's stretchy, so it's easy to put on and off over my head. But hers with the boning, that's gonna be hard to like slip on over the head, so it's gonna need a closure for sure. So I think I'll just do a lace-up closure in the back. I won't cut the back on the fold. and I'll just lace it up. Yeah, I'm excited about my new shirt. I'm gonna keep on wearing it, and so we're ready to make the corset top. Let's get into the tutorial. Okay, I'm just cutting out my pattern, and the pattern file that you get online, it does not have seam allowance. So as you can see, I cut it out with seam allowance on the side and at the neckline. I didn't add any seam allowance at the arm side or at the waistline because I'm gonna be using binding there to finish it, but I do need seam allowance at the side and the neckline. So just cut it out. I cut the front on the fold and I cut the back out, not on the fold. Also, this is going to be lined, so cut your shell out and also cut your lining out. I'm using a slightly thinner, slightly less expensive lining. You can self-line it, but I don't want it to be too bulky. Working with the shell fabric, I'm going to attach it at the side seams and also at the strap, and I'm also going to repeat that for the lining. Then I'm going to take my lining and shell, place them right sides together, and sew around the entire outer edge except for at the waistline and at the arm side. So up the center back and then around the entire neckline. Clip your corners, turn it right side out, and give it a good press, and then we're ready to top stitch. I'm going to top stitch exactly where I just sewed, but when I'm top stitching up the center back area, I'm going to make sure I'm leaving enough room to insert my boning. So my boning's like a 1/4 inch wide, so I'm going to sew a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, like 3/8 of an inch away from the center back seam so that the boning can get inserted into it. Now I'm marking where I want my boning channels to be on the front. To make this easier, I picked first where it would be on the pattern piece, and then I'm just transferring this over to my garment using disappearing ink. To make those boning channels, I'm going to stitch through both layers of fabric, and I'm just going to use those lines I created as a guide, and I'm going to stitch on either side of that, and I'm going to make the channel big enough so that my boning, of course, can slip into it. My favorite part of any project, actually inserting the boning. Oh my goodness, I love doing this. It is so satisfying. It just fits in perfectly, and it makes the garment look so much nicer. Oh my gosh, just enjoy. Enjoy. Also, don't forget to add the boning at the center back seams. Also, you're going to want to clip your boning so that there's about a 1/2 inch of space at the bottom, because when you sew the binding on, you can't sew through the plastic. So just make sure there's enough space. Also, almost forgot to add some interfacing to that center back area. You need to do this so that your eyelets don't pop out and are stable after you put them in. So I'm just cutting like 1 inch wide of interfacing and pressing that into the center back seam. For the binding, I'm using the shell fabric as well. You could use regular bias tape if you want, but I just wanted it to be the same and blend really well. And I'm just going to sew binding onto the waistline and also at the arm side. Lastly, for the top, we're going to add our closure. I'm using eyelets. I believe these are the 1/4 inch eyelets. But yes, I'm using silver ones, and I found out my pliers did not work with this fabric because it was stretchy, so that was unfortunate. So I had to cut out all the holes. But my pliers did actually work for the actual inserting of the eyelets. So thank goodness. Then you just gotta lace it up with whatever type of string or ribbon you want, and then your top is done. Okay, you guys, so here's the top. Have not tried it on yet. It looks super cute. Again, I made it cropped instead of long, but oh, it looks so flippin' cute, but I'm not gonna try it on until I have the entire outfit completed. Next, though, we're gonna tackle the skirt. For this, I will be using my skirt pattern that I will also link down below, and I'm just going to be altering it a little bit. Definitely, it would totally be almost the same if you didn't alter the skirt pattern whatsoever. So if you're feeling like that's way too much work to alter a pattern that I'm already purchasing, don't do that. But I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna alter it. Otherwise, if you're not interested, just follow the skirt pattern. So let's go. Time to tackle the skirt. So here's my actual skirt pattern. I am getting rid of this front skirt piece, and I'm just gonna use the skirt or the shorts base. And then I'm going to make a new skirt part. So for the back skirts, here's my little pattern I made. This pattern that I made also doesn't have seam allowance, but my real pattern does have seam allowance, so that's why they're 2 different sizes. Basically, I just cut off that little crotch extension, and that was how I made the skirt back. Yeah, the skirt back. So super simple. I also made it a little bit longer so that it would be longer than the shorts, so you wouldn't see them. For the front skirt part, instead of doing the 1 panel like in the original pattern, I actually made 2 panels that kind of overlap at the top. Basically, I did the same thing as the back. I just made the shorts into a skirt and took off the crotch part and made it longer. And then I made it into 2 pieces. Okay, now time to cut everything out. If you look at Olivia's skirt though, you can see that her plaid is actually going diagonally, where mine is actually just going straight up and down. So for this, I'm going to cut out the shorts and the facing regularly, but when I get to the skirt part, the part that is showing, I'm gonna cut it on the bias, which is gonna make things a little bit tricky for us because it's gonna wanna stretch more as we sew. It would be easier if I had found one that was going diagonally and that I didn't need to make go on the bias, but you got to work with what you got. So I'm just cutting all of the skirt pieces out on the bias. Also, I'm adding my seam allowance. I'm using 1/2 inch where any of my seams are, and then wherever I'm going to be hemming, I'm adding an entire inch. Now on to sewing. I like to start off by sewing my darts. So I'm sewing my darts on the skirt, then I'm sewing my darts on the pants, then I'm going to sew and serge the crotch seams, then I'm going to attach the skirt pieces together at the side seams, and I'm also going to hem the skirt all the way around and up like the little 2 unattached pieces, like where they overlap, you know what I mean? So I just hem that. Then I'm also going to hem part of the waistline of the skirt. I'm gonna hem the front flap, the larger one, so this entire part, all the way past the side seam, but not all the way to the dart. So from the edge to almost the dart, I'm going to turn and stitch it using my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Also sewing my facing together at the side seam and sewing my pants together at the side seam, but in one of the side seams, I'm adding an invisible zipper. Also really important, the zipper needs to be on the side of the skirt that the front long flap is on. I also sewed the inseam together already, you can see right here. And then lastly, for this part of the shorts, I'm just going to hem them. Now time to put the shorts, facing, and skirt all together. So I'm starting at the front, lining up at the side seam at that short front flap. I'm also going to pin all the way around the back, but I'm leaving out the large front flap. Also, I'm pinning the facing right sides together on everything. So this is what we have. Let's just look at it. You can see that the front flap, the short one, is attached. Here's the back. And then you can see that I've actually pulled out that front long flap away from the waistline seam, so it's not going to get caught in that waistline seam. So I pulled out everything that we already previously hemmed up there. This way, this can fold over and attach with a button. See, here's my little button, and it's gonna fold over and attach, and this is also going to cover the invisible zipper. And since you're able to unbutton it, you can use a zipper on that side seam to take it off and on. I know the skirt tutorial was kind of a whirlwind, but like I said, I already have this pattern and tutorial out, which is very detailed, so I'll link that down below and on the top of the screen, but this is just kind of how I adjusted that pattern. Okay, last but not least is her gloves. I actually already made these gloves for my Gigi Hadid dress that I made from her 2021 Met Gala look. I'll insert a picture over here. Was a fun look to recreate, but it's basically the exact same gloves that Olivia has on. Leather, black, opera length, I think that's what it's called, opera length. And I actually found a pattern for these for free online, so I'm gonna link the blog post where the free pattern is linked, because I don't wanna just take someone's pattern and link the pattern without linking the original person's blog post. So I will link that down below. For reference, it's only in like one size. It doesn't say what size it is, I don't think. I'm usually a size large in gloves. So I made the pattern without altering it at all, and it fit me perfectly. But let me also insert some old clips of me sewing these so that you can kind of see me doing that again. If you already saw me sewing these, then skip on ahead. So here's one pattern and then one glove done. Looks very interesting, the pattern, but not a lot of steps. You sew the thumb together, you sew the thumb onto the glove. Then there are all these little gussets that you have to add to, you know, give your fingers some space. So then you sew that on. And then lastly, you just turn the glove in half and sew it together. And then also you gotta hem it, but very little steps. It's just tedious because the seams are so like sharp and small. But yeah, that's all you gotta do. But after you sew the gloves, you are done with Olivia Rodrigo's Good For You music video look. All right, everyone, so that is how you make the iconic Olivia Rodrigo Good For You outfit. I loved making this. It gave me an excuse to put in my extensions, which probably honestly look awful in the camera. I can't really see, but it's not blended well, but it's okay. Anyways, don't forget I have the patterns linked down below. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. It is the easiest way to support your favorite creators for free. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is Kiana Bonolo. And yeah, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And yeah, I think that's everything. So I'll see you next time. Bye.